Hello everyone, how are you? Once again, it's our Astro Live on Instagram. Well, once a week, me will come to Instagram and meet one of my colleagues, and then we will talk about the recent transit and maybe related to some recent event. Today is my pleasure to invite my dearest friend, Mandy Leclerc. So, well, I think Mandy is online now, and Mandy is, wow, Mandy know how to do it now. Yes. So yes, how's everyone? And we are ready today. Mandy and I we are going to discuss about the full moon on the 29th September. Hello, Mandy.
Hi Rod, hello everyone.
Hello, everyone. Yes, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very well. And at this moment, I'm really busy because I think it was the things the Mercury go back to the direct motion, and I was arrested for whole summer because of health situation. So
hmm
kind of I'm ready for a lot of things. During the while I was resting, I have a lot of idea I want to do, and suddenly I do it in one go. Now I just feel like, am I really, can am I really able to continue? Have you noticed that I changed a lot of things? I start to like a daily horoscope thing. I was just like, oh my God.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we've got a full moon coming up, haven't we?
Yes, yes. And this woman look pretty busy too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite an intense one, isn't it? It's in Aries, so the moon
hmm
is at 6 degrees exactly of Aries when it's full, and that's on the 29th.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And then I think first, I think usually, we do the lot of a kind of a forecasting and prepare, talking about a chart. But usually we will do the like new moon and the full moon. Could you tell us what's different between when we read from new moon and when we read from the full moon?
Yeah, of course. So the new moon is the dark of the moon. So when you look into the sky on a new moon, you won't see the moon, or you might see a little bit of light, but hardly anything from the moon because it's the beginning of the lunar cycle, and it's when the sun and the moon, astrologically speaking, are conjunct. So
hmm
it's the start of the monthly, the sort of 28 and a bit days moon
hmm
cycle. So, like any cycle in astrology, the conjunction is the planning time, the seeding time, the time when the new energy comes in. But because it's the dark of the moon, we don't quite know what is going to happen, what we can manifest, so we can kind of plan for it. So the new moon is not necessarily a time to sort of put plans into action and really go for it. It's actually the 2 weeks that follow the new moon where you can start to manifest the plans that you make at the new moon, particularly about a week later when you get the first quarter moon, which is
hmm
sun square moon. That's one for manifestation, for action, for getting things done because it's a square. And then the next major aspect of the moon is the full moon. So
Mm.
that's what we've got on the 29th in a couple of days' time. And the full moon is the full light of the moon. So when you look up at the sky, you will see a whole moon. You will see
Yeah.
the whole of the moon. That's a Waterboy song, by the way. You saw the whole of the moon. That's a beautiful song, by the way. It's a great full moon song. I saw the crescent. You saw the whole of the moon. Anyway, that's an aside. But it's the fullness of the moon. So it's the peak. It's the culmination. It's not the end of the cycle. It's the halfway point, but the peak and the culmination of the lunar cycle. And because the moon is in full light, you can see it. It's big. That's when you really start to see what you have created during this lunar
Mm.
cycle and also more generally as well. And it's a very sociable time. It's a
hmm
time when more people want to go out, want to do things, especially with this Aries
hmm
full moon. And I think what is kind of special, every lunation is special, I
Yeah.
think. I love the moon. And what's special about this one is it's the fourth and final supermoon, and
Ah.
that means that the moon is very close to
hmm
us.
Yeah.
Perihelion, that's called astronomically, because the moon doesn't just go around in a circle around the Earth. It
Yeah.
also goes like this. That's called declination,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
want the technical term for it. So there's times when it's closer to us and times when it's further away from us. So that adds to the intensity. It's actually bigger in the sky and probably brighter in the sky because we can see it more clearly in the sky, which means because it's closer to us, we know that the moon does have an effect on water. And of course, we're made of water, the tides, our energy, our moods. So this is quite an intense one. And this is this is the last lunation before we start to have eclipse season again. So we are going through an intense time, I think, at the moment. What do you think, Rod?
Yeah, I like the idea it is about, when we see it, it is very close to the Earth in the perihelion, and also in the declination is pretty high. A lot of astrologers are talking about this moment, especially this year, this season is kind of very intensified from all around the world. Last month, we have a lot of earthquake and also flooding, and there is a coincident with the year 2004. That kind of, we have the Christmas earthquake, Boxing Day earthquake, and with like a large tsunami. And those things are coincident altogether, that like very similar with that 18 years of the Merton cycle things, which a lunation cycle repeat. So this full moon, the recent full moon would be very, worth to pay attention, especially in the Aries, and it's kind of a pretty active. One thing, I'm curious about how you read that. When I check the aspect, it is going to ask the most tight aspect in this chart are the Venus square Uranus. That was last there for a long time, isn't it? How do you feel about this set of aspect?
Yeah. So basically, we've got the ruler of the sun. The sun is in Libra in this full moon chart. So that the ruler of the sun is basically it's Venus. It's in Leo, and it is in an exact square to Uranus. Now, Venus square Uranus is a very common aspect, but what is rare about this is because of Venus's retrograde cycle. So Venus went retrograde in Leo. So in July, we had Venus in Leo square Uranus. In August, we had Venus square Uranus still in Leo. And now we have in the final one, it's very intense. When anything touches Uranus, it's very intense. We've got the final one exact on the day of this full moon. So that adds intensity. So we have a layer of intensity simply because it's a full moon, simply because it's a super moon, and simply, well, not quite so simply, but more complicatedly, it's because the ruler of the sun in this full moon is in an intense third aspect to Uranus. So I think this reflects the fact that we have probably been going through a process to do with relationships and or our values, all that Venusian stuff. It's not just a passing aspect, it's been with us. So I think anyone who's got, say, 18, 19 degrees to sort of 23, 24 degrees of anything in their chart, a planet or an angle in their chart, in the fixed signs, here we've got, in this aspect, we've got Leo and Taurus, but you can also bring in Scorpio and Aquarius as well. You're going to have those. You're going to have those three Venus-Uranus squares affecting your chart and affecting you. So I guess, do you want to explore some of the meanings of that Venus-Uranus?
I think you just summarized it. It could be about the relationship and the value, and maybe sometimes it could relate it to financial or investment. I think usually I see the Uranus as a planet for the investor and the middle class and investment. But it is very interesting for me is that three hit and they are in the fixed time. I just couldn't help have a drama play in my head. It's like we are trying to make up something. We are trying to change something. doesn't necessarily to break up or cut off, but that we are trying to change something or make a new start. Then while last 3 months in July and August, we try and try again. We try, we fail, or we try, we feel, oh, we should get something else. And then like finally, this one is the last one to exact, and they will go from here. So it's like we building up this revolution, or we building up this kind of huge change in our life. And so there's a 3 major hit until this one at this moment is the last one of the Venus square Uranus, and then soon Venus will move forward, and that we just say, I would say, well, finally, you know.
Yeah, finally it's gone. And Venus, Uranus. So one thing that's really interesting is that Uranus, like Aries, obviously the moon is in Aries here, and the North Node is in Aries, and that's not unimportant as well for this full moon. We've got North Node in Aries, and obviously that's a longer transit, but very fast transit of the moon in Aries. So that's a fast energy, and Uranus is a fast energy. And what's really interesting is that square between Venus and Uranus is in the fixed signs. Leo and Taurus are both known as very loyal signs. So for some people, that process might have been something to do with betrayal, for example. That, you know, something, you know, betrayal of trust, or you know, wanting to know where their loyalty lies. Because if you have, for example, Venus, Uranus in your chart, that is symbolic of many things, but one of the things it's symbolic of is perhaps not being able to commit, wanting freedom, wanting space, wanting relationships that are unorthodox. But Taurus probably wants the stability of a relationship and the security of a relationship. So there might be, in terms of relationship, there might be a clash of values in relationships, i.e., I want the security and the stability. Oh, well, I want the freedom and the excitement. And where do those values meet? So that's kind of a process that we might see where we're at in that process within our relationships. There's other ways that it can manifest. For example, during this period, this summer period, you might have become attracted to someone who was just like not your type, who's unusual and different, and think, wow, this person, where did they come from? And then Uranus can then, you know, that can be something to go forward with, that change and that development, going, okay, I'm not going to do what I usually do, I'm going to look for something different. That might work out. On the other hand, Uranus's way in relationships, you might think someone is the best thing since sliced bread, they're sexy, they're amazing, they're wonderful, and then suddenly they'll do or say something and you'll get the ick and you go, oh no, you know. That's another kind of Uranian thing as well. So there's all sorts of things that can kind of happen, breakups, breakdowns at worst. But certainly I think I would summarize it for most people to be on one side or even both sides of any kind of relationship, a clash of values, and a clash of values in terms of, you know, where the loyalty lies, where the freedom lies, and where the space in the relationship lies. Because Uranus isn't going to be, when Uranus is in you know, involved in a relationship aspect, it's not going to be you know, it's not Neptune, it's not that merging of souls and we can never be apart. It's like, no, I want to, you know, sleep in a different bedroom tonight, or I want to go off and do my own thing. And that might cause tensions in relationships. What do you think, Rod?
It is very interesting, especially the things you describe is so dramatic, and I suddenly have that build up the image about that kind of things. But one thing triggered me most, I don't know, it's maybe personal or something. When you're talking about betrayal, I think, oh, that sounds a little bit, you know, powerful. And I was like, I was keep thinking I couldn't relate it to anything, but that thing just like hit me a little bit, and I say I didn't think about that. I say I didn't think about that, and that surprised me, and I say that worth to keep an eye on it, because with this set of fixed sign, the Venus in Leo and the Uranus in Taurus, they are kind of holding each other for so long. And yes, there is some kind of Uranus want to change. Uranus want to make difference. How does Venus in Leo think? And I think, and then I get you. When I think about how does that Venus in Leo will take about that change, He's like, oh, you abandoned me. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt.
Yeah.
And you can, don't forget, you can betray yourself by not, by being in a relationship, by kind of not being in your own values, by not living your own values through relationships as well. That's kind of a self betrayal. And certainly the moon in Aries, this full moon in Aries, the lesson of Aries, and also the North Node in Aries more profoundly, is to be yourself, to be in your own sovereignty, to do your own thing in the way that you want to do it. That's very kind of Aryan, that kind of single-mindedness of Aries that wants to do its own thing. But because obviously we've got the full moon and we've got the sun in Libra, it's doing that within the relationship or within the context of other people. So you've got to look after the feelings of other people, because the full moon is a very emotional moon. So you've got to look at the feelings and the needs and the wants of other people, but at the same time stand in your own kind of sovereignty. I mean, it's quite restless, isn't it, Aries? Yes. It needs to act and be on the go all the time. It's probably, for a full moon, when people come out to play on a full moon, it's probably quite, it can probably be a bit of a horny full moon for some people. And that is the way that, you know, that is the physicality of Aries. It might be the sex, it might be the exercise, the martial arts, it might be having a good fight, although we wouldn't recommend that. But, you know, Aries needs to find its, you know, that Aries moon needs to find its emotional expression, doesn't it? Through the Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, which is in Libra. And that, again, that Libra energy in Mars means, well, it's going to be a bit more constrained to peace and harmony and wanting to get on with other people, you know.
Yeah. I noticed why am I looking at this full moon chart? I just noticed something, and also when you explain that, and it's pretty interesting. This full moon is, there is a sense of a polarity. It's about other people and I, and what should I do? And question about myself. I question about our own position or our own state or our own recognition in the group or in the partnership, but it's not totally huge confrontation. I just couldn't feel that. I think it's not confront or me against you. It's just question about how am I going to, you know, how am I going to do and what I am, what's my role in this relationship, what is my role in this group or maybe in the society. So there is a thinking about you and I or other people and I, but there, that I don't want to say it's confrontation. It's just a reflection, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at the high emotion as well, that might be associated with this full moon, which they often are associated with high emotion, and that, as you're just saying, comes out in relationships, the relationship between me and the other, I and we, for example. And I looked at the aspects that the sun and moon in this chart make. Obviously the opposition to each other. They don't make any major big aspects to other planets, but what they do make, because I've been doing lots of research for your conference on sesquiquadrates, which is the 135 degree. So both the sun and the moon make sesquiquadrate aspects. The moon in Aries makes a sesquiquadrate aspect to Venus, and the sun makes a sesquiquadrate aspect to Uranus. These are tight aspects because they only count if they're tight aspects. So that takes us straight back to that Venus-Uranus square again, because you know that's quite an interesting thing. Sesquiquadrates are associated with the release of pent-up emotional energy in a very sort of single-pointed, focused way, you know, in a very narrow way. So again, relationships and relationship drama and relationship sort of shake-ups and excitement. So that's something I think to be aware of. Where's the drama in your life that something might, I think blow up is perhaps too strong, but that might be something that that we might need to be aware of, that the intense emotions during this full moon, those sesquiquadrates, if they are triggered, you might find yourself sort of, you know, like, whoa, in the crossfire or of drama or breaking drama, you know, because, you know, we could find ourselves in that situation. I guess the choice is, you know, if you're the one who's feeling really triggered, we've already talked about feeling triggered by the idea of betrayal, you know, that's triggering for anyone, that losing or breaking that trust. But if we are thinking about being triggered, you know, if we are able to take a breath before acting, which is hard for the moon in Aries, of course, but perhaps we can use the energy of Mars in Libra to sort of take that breath and take a step back and think about the other person. Because often a sesquiquadrate, when this tension kind of blows up at one particular issue or perhaps one particular person, these strong feelings come up. It doesn't necessarily mean you express them in a negative way, but they come up. It's often to do with unconscious processes that are coming up that you might not be aware of. So that's why it can come out as a surprise. And as we know, anything to do with Uranus can come out as a surprise or a shock, and like, whoa, where did that come from? I'm having these feelings, where did they come from? Or someone else is having these feelings, projecting them onto me, where does that come from? So that's something to kind of bear in mind during this. I think Bill Tierney in Dynamics of Aspect Analysis talks about patience is the way forward with the sesquiquadrates. Now that's hard, isn't it, when we've got all this Uranian energy and this Aryan energy? So yeah, if you can be patient and then make amends afterwards, you know, don't follow the drama, don't throw yourself into the drama, just try and be a little bit more calm and patient. I mean, easier said than done, right? What do you reckon?
Agree, 100% agree. Especially you're talking about Uranus and in this set of sesquiquadrate, they both make people feel like, no, I can't wait. You know, you just it is very difficult to holding on there. Yeah, you want things like Uranus, they have like impulse. It's a kind of impulsive energy. There's an urgency. I want to done this quickly and quickly to cut things off or something. And that set of sesquiquadrate, there is no patience there, and a lack of flexibility. So it could be, you know, it could be like a stream is super tight, intense, and it could break anytime. So there is, like you said, the surprise. There is a surprise feeling there. Well, this is so interesting to read at this full moon. Well, how would you have any kind of a, maybe like a suggestion or how we apply this type of energy or the whole full moon chart, energy into our everyday life?
Yeah, certainly. I think it is. If we go back to if it's a full moon in Aries, and go back to what we've been talking about, is I and we, which is the other side of it, which is the sun in Libra. So we're invited really to continue doing the work of the North Node, which is now in Aries. We're invited to do that at the moment under this full moon that is really intense, as we've kind of talked about. It's about self-actualization. You know, who am I? You know, again, going back to our values, who am I and what do I stand for? And how do I stand in my power? How do I use my power, or how do I let other people take my power away or give my power away to others? And the reason I say that is because that North Node is obviously opposite Libra, because the North Node and the South nodes are always in a pair of oppositions. There's an ongoing T-square from the nodes to Pluto, which is associated with power, so it brings that in. And the ruler of this full moon, Mars, is at the moment temporarily conjunct the South node, so it's part of that. Again, it's kind of triggering that nodal axis with the square to Pluto. So how do we take responsibility for ourselves? How do we put ourselves in our own sovereignty? How do we deal with our raw emotions? So thinking about our raw emotions. And I think the wonderful thing about astrology is that it is a real tool of growth, of being aware of what might be coming up for us. If this full moon obviously touches your chart, if you've got the cardinal signs, you know, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, between sort of about 3 and 8 degrees, anything 3 and 8 of the, between 3 and 8 degrees of the cardinals, it's going to be more relevant to you, because it's going to sort of trigger your actual planets. My son's involved in that, by the way, so I shall be taking my own advice and trying to stay calm and just breathing, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm part of it because I have my ascendant nearby, so that would be very interesting to see how am I going to handle this, you know, Lisa, or me, or you, or what's my role in the partnership, or you know that, or is this fair for me? And that is the things I was keep thinking at this moment, and I'm really looking forward about this full moon to fulfill that. But I want to bring it to something else. As we already talked about how to apply this full moon, and you just mentioned one thing, a key, most important, our conference. AOA UK Online Conference is from the 1st to the 3rd December. Monday just talk about the 6 key quadrant, the set of a minus aspect. And this is what Monday going to give a talk, especially how does this set of aspect related to in relationship, right? I remember.
That's right, yeah. I'm doing quincunx, which is the 150 degrees aspect, and I have got a kind of Hollywood pairing, which I'm going to be using as a case study for the quincunx aspect, between two people who were in a very popular TV show together, and about their on-screen relationship and their synastry, which is, you know, when you put two charts together, it's full of quincunx aspects, which is amazing. So that's going to be the first case. I'm doing a detailed case study on that to demonstrate the quincunx aspect. And then for the sesquiquadrate aspect, I've got a really fun case study of rock and roll sibling rivalry, basically. Wow. So it should be informative, but also a little bit of fun as well.
God, I'm so looking forward for this, because it would be fun, especially when we learn astrology. The case study is very easy to absorb, and then you know that is so fun. So I'm so looking forward to listen your talk about this relationship with quincunx and the 6 key quadrant. So if you haven't registered yet, please go to our website, and soon we will have like the other speaker will coming up to to speak about it. So please, just if you haven't registered, please contact us, and then we will help you out to read. Okay. Well, thank you, Mandy, for your time, and thanks everyone to join us today. And don't forget that this is the full moon for the 29th of September. And the next week, I think I will have a Lian coming up to talk about a few mountain astrology issue. I think Lian was going to talk about the issue related to, I know maybe we will change it, but so far last time we talked, we are thinking about talking about the Russell brands.
Oh,
and that
very interesting.
That is very also Libra Aries, isn't it?
Very interesting.
And me, and I agree, or something, you know. And that is very interesting. So everyone, see you next Wednesday, and thanks Monday. See you next time. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Lots of love. Bye bye.